What is up, Janksters? It's your boy Graham, also known as HamHawks42 on the internet, and today I want to look at a special card because it's just fantastic. Consider this episode of the Overthinking MTG podcast a public service announcement that you need to be running this card. I found out about it about 5 minutes before pressing record and immediately fell in love with it, and I feel like you should too. And this is from Streets New Capenna. It's a brand new card. It is called Void Rend. This is an instant for white, blue, black that says this spell can't be countered. Destroy target non-land permanent. You know the card Vanishing Verse that says destroy target mono-colored permanent? That card is getting a ton of play right now for a lot of great reasons because it's one of the best removable pieces we have. One of the things that I was really jazzed about with New Capenna is a lot of multicolor creatures and multicolored permanents were going to be entering the meta and maybe make Vanishing Verse less viable. But then they go and print Void Rend. So now you don't need Vanishing Verse, you just need Void Rend because this can get around the color restriction. And on top of that, it can't be countered. Did we need to add upside to this? The effect, destroy target non-land permanent, is so wide open that effect usually costs 4. Think of Binding the Old Gods. That's a saga. And granted, that one has a couple of other things tacked onto it, but that's really the key value that you get out of that saga, and that costs 4. So that's about where I expect to see this effect. And this only costs 3, and you can't counter it. As if counter spells needed any help being not so great in this current meta. The fact that now the primo piece of removal in the Obscura colors is free from that is just, it blows my mind. I think this card is absolutely fantastic. Couple of things it doesn't do for you there, because I need to specify the few things that it can't do because it is able to do so much. This can remove so many great targets. This hits your Asika's Chariot. This hits any of your Planeswalkers. This hits all the creatures that your opponents are going to try to be running, with a few exceptions, which we'll get into. But in general, this can hit just about anything. I'm at a loss. I'm at a loss for words for how good this card is. So if you are in Azorius right now, consider splashing blue for this. If you are in Dimir right now, consider splashing white for this. If you are in Esper already, well, congratulations, you just got a new great toy. Or you will be getting a new great toy as soon as Streets New Capenna drops. And if you're in 5-color, or 4-color, if you're in one of those big decks that's capable of splashing a lot of different colors for things like Kami War, and you're taking advantage of World Tree and all those shenanigans, Void Rend just fits right in. This card is absolutely fabulous. Like, it is beyond reproach. I think this card is absolutely excellent. There are a couple of weaknesses. It does say destroy target non-land permanent. So if a permanent is transformed into a land for one reason or another, it cannot be targeted by this. This is also instant speed removal that cannot touch creature lands. So Hive of the Eye, Tyrant, Hall of Storm Giants, those are still going to be swinging at your face. And Void Rend cannot help you with that. Whereas a traditional Infernal Grasp or a Baleful Mastery, or even something like a Feed the Serpent, if you really want to go old school draft chaff on it, can all help you with that. But Void Rend cannot because it is a land. So that is noteworthy. The other thing that I want to point out, a card that is still legal in Standard is Ashaya. Ashaya turns all creatures into lands, all non-token creatures into lands, in addition to their other types. So as a result, Void Rend prevents you from being able to hit Ashaya, which kind of stinks. And once Ashaya is on the board, you can no longer remove non-token creatures from your opponent's board. And if they're running Ashaya, they probably have some non-token creatures lying around that you would really like to blast. And so that effectively turns Void Rend off, which is a real bummer. So that's something to keep in mind. So those are downsides. However, you can also just run that in a deck with 4 Field of Ruin, and so if you're well, I don't know about 4 because of the mana requirements, but run that with a couple Field of Ruin, which is a great way to get rid of Ashaya, and you'll be fine, at the end of the day. The only downside to this card, there is a downside, and the only downside here is the mana cost. The 3-colored mana cost is difficult to cast. It is. However, we have the new Triomes, the completion of the Triome cycle, not to mention a lot of other mana fixers, even at common and uncommon in this set. So I don't think it's going to be as big of a problem as it looks. Not to mention the treasure tokens are still running around. Not necessarily in these colors, but I mean in black, yeah. So there may be an opportunity to use treasure counters to cast out Void Rend. And to top it all off, To top all of this off, I would say this is a great spell if it was at sorcery speed, but it's not. It's at instant speed. So if your opponent rips a Goldspan Dragon or a Hullbreaker Horror, you can just blast it in response. Now, notably, with Hullbreaker Horror specifically, if they stick a Hullbreaker Horror on the battlefield and have mana up, if you try to hit it with Void Rend, they can still bounce it back to your hand. While, we using Hullbreaker Horror's ability, that Divide by Zero style pushback that it has. That ability looks like a Remand style effect that counts as countering it, but it is not. It is considered removing it from the stack and putting it back into your hand. So that is still a bit of an issue. But if you're doing that at instant speed on your opponent's turn, well, actually, in all likelihood, they're going to be casting the Hullbreaker on your turn. But if they aren't for some reason, you get a second shot at the Void Rend. So it could be worse. It definitely could be worse. But saw it coming, Spell Pierce, Jawari Disruption, none of those can touch this card. So if you tap out for a Void Rend, you're probably going to get through. Like, those soft counters are kind of the best we got right now. Or Negate, which is another good one that's just running around right now. Those just don't do anything to this card. That's fabulous. I think I run Void Rend. That's all I'm saying. If you get one thing out of this episode, if you are a control mage, if you are a mid-range player and you enjoy playing in black, blue, or white, like any combination thereof, put this card in the deck. I think this is going to be a 4-of staple in every deck that can support it. I do. Just the way that Vanishing Verse is right now in Azorius. In Orzhov. It's a 4-of staple because there are so many great targets. Well, with Void Rend, we have even more great targets. It's fantastic. Yeah, so this has been Void Rend. This has been an additional edition of the Overthinking MTG podcast where we're looking at new Capenna spoilers. There are going to be more coming. This set, it has my name written all over it. There's some phenomenal stuff in new Capenna that I absolutely adore. So hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, leave a comment below if there are specific cards that you want to see me cover. I'd be more than happy to do deep dives on whichever you're feeling. And if you want to see a full spoiler roundup, I'm actually getting together with Hearsay TTV and Hollywood Pizza to do a set review later this week. So keep an eye on the Pizza Box MTG channel for that. There will be a link in the description for that. So thank you so much. I appreciate you, and I'll catch you on the next one.